Hello everybody, my name is Audrey and welcome back to the YouTubes. And I have a new review for you, and it is for A Wrinkle in Time by Wrinkle. Hey Audrey, you're 18 years old. Why are you just now reading this children's book? Excellent question. When I was in like the 6th grade, I was really into like stupid kids books. I read a lot of books that weren't Wrinkle, much against my father's wishes, he's obsessed with her. Right before I graduated high school, he was like, hey, if you can read A Wrinkle in Time before you graduate high school, I'll read one of your books. And ever since Y'all West, I've been trying to get him to read Six of Crows. So I was like, frick yes, of course I'll read A Wrinkle in Time, which is this like, it's a skinny little book, so that you will read this magnificent young adult book that I am so obsessed with. I really loved it. I really loved A Wrinkle in Time. And I kind of hate myself for not reading it when I was 12 because, and most of my family will agree with me on this, I was Meg Murray when I was 12 years old. Like, it was weird. But like the English version, because you know she's all math and science. Woo. I would have loved her so much, and I still do love her, but different appreciation. Anyways, that's the story of why I, an adult woman, have just now read a children's book. But I did love this children's book, and today I want to review it for you so that if you haven't read it yet, or if you are interested in reading it again after the movie trailer was recently released, hopefully this review will convince you to do that. Let's get started. A Wrinkle in Time is about 12-year-old Meg Murray, who's super awkward, kind of like, I can't think of a better word than clunky. She's just a weird kid. And she has a brother named Charles Wallace, who is also a weird kid. He's 3 years old, he only recently started talking, and he's like a freaking genius. And the book starts off with the biggest cliche of all time. It was a dark and stormy night. With Meg going downstairs to drink hot chocolate with her little brother, Charles Wallace, and suddenly these 3 ladies appear in their kitchen and they have to go on this quest to save Meg's father, who has been missing for many, many years, with the help of this boy from her school named Calvin O'Keefe, whom I love. And it's just a crazy wild sci-fi adventure. They have to travel through time by tessering. They have to battle a giant brain in the grand scheme of things. They go to a city where everything is exactly the same, and they have to learn how to be individuals, which is a great lesson for Meg to learn because she's, you know, awkward and wants to fit in more than anything, but this book is a great reminder for her that she needs to learn to stand out. And it's a brilliant plot. It's so genius. The way it's composed is so incredible. I'm like at a loss for words about how much I loved this plot, because I didn't think I was gonna like it because I thought I was gonna read too young, but Wrinkle once said, you must write the book that wants to be written, and if it's too difficult for adults, then you have to write it for kids. So I really love that quote, and I think it just makes perfect sense with the plot of this book. It's gorgeous and genius and unique, and unlike anything anyone will ever read, ever. It's perfect. And her writing, oh my goodness, you guys. Her writing is so beautiful. Literally everything that was on that page was just lyrical, gorgeous. It almost felt like prose most of the time because it all just flowed very, very seamlessly. It was so stunning. There were no pacing issues in the plot. Everything was consistent and steady and high action from beginning to end. Honestly, there's nothing about the writing or the pacing or the plot that I would change even a little bit. I mean, all of it was sheer perfection in the highest form. It is an incredible, incredible middle grade book. And oh my goodness, like Harry Potter is fantastic and Percy Jackson is great, but you guys, A Wrinkle in Time is on a whole other level with writing and plot and characterization and all of it. It's so good. It's so good. Characterization. This is the most important part of any book for me, is a strong character. I'm a character-driven person. I think it has to do with my acting, love, that whole side of my life. So I love a good character, and oh my goodness, does A Wrinkle in Time ever have fantastic characters? Everyone is incredibly dimensional and complex, and no one is perfect, which I think is an important aspect of the book. Is a lot of people will try and write like flawed characters, but even the flaws feel very forced and they just feel like perfect characters with flaws that were there just to make them complex. Whereas Wrinkle's characters actually feel complex and detailed and real, so that as you're reading about it, you feel very involved in their lives and who they are. And this continues throughout all of her books, all 7 of the Murray O'Keefe storyline books. They're all like this. Meg Murray, who I've already talked a million times about because I just love her so much, is probably the most detailed middle grade character I've ever encountered in my entire life. She is committed and she's passionate and she's really, really angry. She's irritated and she just wants to be normal, and I really love that about her actually, is that you get these middle grade characters, like Harry Potter is obviously irritated most of the time, but when he's 12 and his life is changing, he's like, this is amazing! When Meg is 12 and her life is changing because her dad has been missing for so many years, and all of a sudden these 3 random ladies show up and are like, travel through time and find him. She's like, this is freaking insane. Why are you doing this to me? I just want to see my dad again. And it's so realistic. Like, at age 12, if your dad had been missing for, I think it's 3 or 4 years, you would be pissed off too. You wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I'm traveling through time. Like, she's scared and she's angry, but she's compassionate and she's kind and she cares so, so deeply. And that is in the end really what saves the whole story, is her deep love for her family and for her friends. She's just so brilliant, so complex. I love her. I love her to death. She's perfect. And then we have Charles Wallace, who actually, this is kind of controversial, but Charles Wallace was my biggest problem with Wrinkle in Time. Like, as much as I adored him, I hated the fact that I had to remind myself that he was 3 or 4 years old constantly. I get that he's supposed to be like absolutely brilliant, so of course he has this magnificent vocabulary, but it was really, really annoying that I had to think over and over again like, oh my gosh, he's 4. Oh my gosh, he's 4. He's a child. He's a baby. He's 4. It just really frustrated me. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that it did, but it did. And that's the only reason why this book wasn't a perfect 5 stars for me, was just because I loved Charles Wallace, and he reminded me a lot of my 8-year-old brother August, but I just didn't enjoy that I had to constantly remind myself of who he was as a character, because his vocabulary was so intense and large and vaguely unrealistic. It's my only problem with the whole book was Charles Wallace, but I still loved him to death, and he was adorable and amazing, and I'm sure most of you have read this, but this is a spoiler if you haven't, so plug your ears or take out your headphones or whatever you gotta do. But when he was being possessed by it was one of my favorite scenes in the whole book, because he was so creepy and different from what he was throughout the rest of it. And it was a fun change. I really liked it actually. Of course, I mean, I didn't like it because you want him to not be like that, but it was cool, and a plot twist I did not see coming, because he's supposed to be like the strong, smart one. So the fact that he was the first one to cave to it was something I thought was a A+ writing choice. And then we have Calvin O'Keefe, who, oh my goodness, 12-year-old me would have had a crush on him in Wrinkle in Time, and 18-year-old me has a crush on him in literally every other book that he's in. I just adore him to the ends of the earth. He is the perfect balance between Charles Wallace's incredibly confident self and Meg's incredibly insecure self. He's just like, he's right in the middle. He knows his family's a little crazy, and his brothers can be kind of mean, but he's just there and he just wants to be a good person. And honestly, his relationship with Meg like makes me so happy. It's just so pure. I love it so much. Really the only other reason besides Charles Wallace that it wasn't a 5-star book was the fact that younger kids, like if I had read this when I was 8 years old, I probably wouldn't have understood most of what was going on, because it's very, very math heavy, very, very science heavy. Even at 18 I was kind of like, I don't get it. So that was kind of confusing, but it was okay, and I'm glad I read it as an adult for that reason specifically, was because I was able to comprehend the plot a little bit more and understand what was going on, so it made more sense. That's the only other reason I wouldn't have rated it a full 5 stars. It was a total 4-star book for me. I absolutely loved it. All of it was just so fantastic, except for those 2 minuscule little things that just docked it the tiniest bit. Even though I literally just said I'm glad I read it as an adult, I really wish I had read it when I was 12. Because I really would have loved it when I was 12. You know what time it is, everybody? It's time for final fangirl thoughts, my favorite part of all my reviews, because I get to release all my emotions and not be critical and intense and I don't know, emotions. I'm excited. This is gonna be fun. Let's get started. The first most important thing in my final fangirl thoughts is that Mrs. Murray is literally mom goals, okay? Oh my goodness, I love her so much. The best mom ever. The best fictional mom. I adore her. Mrs. Murray. 10 out of 10. Oh my gosh. At the end, the very, very end of the book, this is like the last 20 or 30 pages, when Charles Wallace was captured by it, and Meg was like, I love you, you're my brother, I love you. I was like, oh, that's so true. Big sister emotions. Oh, it's brothers and sisters. I love my family. Seriously, like I was totally crying at the end of the book, because it was just like, it's so true. This is the most important thing I will ever say about a Madeleine L'Engle book, so I hope you're listening. The dangerous thing about all the 7 Madeleine L'Engle books that I have read in my life is that they make me want to abandon all my dreams of moving to Los Angeles and acting, to marry a rich scientist and have thousands of children and take them on adventures, because seriously, the Marie O'Keefe family is so freaking awesome. I just want to be them. Oh my gosh. I'm glad I finished the books because now I can kind of put that in the back of my brain and not actually abandon all my dreams to live in the English countryside and raise a million kids. Anyways. Well, I think that has been enough ranting and raving and discussing how much I loved one small single book for one video. So let's close this one out. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a big humongous thumbs up. I would love to know that you liked it. It makes me feel so happy. So definitely do that if you want. There will be a button to subscribe somewhere by my face, either on this side or this side, somewhere. I don't know. Click on it, find it, subscribe. I'm kind of a dork, and if you're a dork, then we can be dorks together, and it'll be really fun. I think that's all I have for you today, so until next time, my name is Audrey, and we will see you in the next chapter.